بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. O soul at peace, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing. Then enter among my servants and enter my paradise. Uh, I, I am happy to, again, one more time, got the opportunity to be among dear brothers and sisters of ZEC, MIT Shia Muslim Association. As you know, the general title of this series of talk is Imam Husayn's Movement, Reflection and History, Reasons and Consequences. Our goal was to supply or supplement some extra historical matters which can help us better understand the movement. We're not directly discussing the history of the movement, but some related matters. The material today, some aspects is very important, some are indirect. First, I was intended to focus mostly on Kufa, or maybe Kufa in the time of Osman, Caliph Osman, but I think maybe I digress from it. Even I'm not sure of time. Maybe the Kufa part a little bit goes to the next lecture, or we shorten it. So, but it still is important. And then you can see this picture is Kufa, Masjid Kufa, in 1915 in Iraq. So it's very changed. It was a kind of deserted city at that time. Najaf was close by, important, but these few historical landmarks were kept, and then the masjid, some blessings in it, so kept. Kind of interesting picture in itself. So Kufa Mosque, 1915. I'm not going to go to the abstract today and what's our intention is, but also because we are talking mainly about Osman, the third Caliph, Osman ibn Affan. This is the image of his burial place in Baqi, the graveyard Baqi, a famous one in Medina, which four of imams are there. Hazrat Khadija is there. Many great scholars, companions are all buried over there. Is one of the most important graveyards in the Islam. And then interesting, if you have gone over there, the burial place of Osman, third Caliph, is very far away. Because after the uprising of the people against him, Muslims, those who rebelled against him, didn't let him to be buried in the Muslims' graveyard. So so he was not buried in Baqi, but he buried in another place called Hashakokab, which is adjacent to Baqi. Some say it was a Jewish cemetery, and then maybe Muawiyah later bought it and attached it to the cemetery. And you can see that's if you see, this is far back. The front is where the mosque is, the Prophet Mosque, and all the entrance is there. All the imams, Khadija, the other wives of Prophet, all are over there, but Usman is back there. He is a little, we'll see them, so investigating about him. As I said last time, this may be more relevant, especially if we find time to go to the grievances of Kufans against him. Again, is politics is about who gets what and who says so. Here, Kufans are much our concern, but we see it's not only Kufans. And then who says so was kind of in this stage was Osman was deciding who gets what, and that produced some tensions. And again, I want you to look. We have seen this, but some of the clan relationship is important. At the Bani Hashim and Bani Abd Shams or Umayyads were both children of Abdul Manaf. They are relatively close family. Family relationship. Then we have the powerful Makhzum in Quraysh. We saw that. Then Time is the one Abu Bakr and Talha were from there. So Talha heard about it. Asad is the one Khadija, the wife of the Prophet, but Zubayr was from there. So in that sense, there was a relationship between Prophet and Zubayr, and another direction too. So this is also I want you to have in mind. And then the clan of Omar was farther away. So because some of these names are becoming important, and also Zohra, we have to look at Zohra, which the other two guys are there. It is the clan of Prophet's mother, Aminah. His cousin Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, which is important, is there, and Abdul Rahman Uf. So these two, so you see, these are the names which we see the council, electoral council, which we were responsible to select Osman. So these six names are there besides Imam Ali itself and Osman. 4 other names. One is Sa'd and Abdul Rahman Ruf, which are from Zuhra, the clan of Mother of Prophet. Then Zubair is from the clan of the wife of the Prophet. And then Osman and Usada. And then we have Talha, which is the clan of Abu Bakr. And then Maqsum, the powerful one, the rich one, and really the rival of Abishans, which Abu Jahl was from there. And this is also the genealogy of Umayyads. We don't do today much about branch of Sufyanids. Marwan, it's good to see, but again, not Marwani's night now, but maybe from the next lecture start to talk more about Marwan and Abdul Malik. But then you see Osman is here, but Osman and Marwan are kind of very first cousin. Affan and his Al-Hakim are the brothers. Osman and Marwan are first cousin, very close together. Marwan has a very important role, a great influence on Osman. And there are other people in this branch. One is Sayyid ibn al-As, which is Osman, close to Osman, put in governorship. Many names are here. Because one of the things we repeat, Osman started to only choose governors and give the positions to from his own family and from this branch, really this table. There is another one important, Walid ibn Uqba and Abi Mu'ayt. He become half brother of Osman. We will see that, and he is also a rule. So you see, these names I don't want you to know all, but you can see they're very close, first cousin, second cousin, and the most important one here is Marwan, and which again then he became Caliph later on as part of Umayyad. Okay, last lecture we saw something about Iraq and its conquest, and we said it's very fertile. The tax which is collected here was 5 times more than Syria. This is in Persian, but generally this area, southern part called Iraq, upper part called Jazeera, especially southern part was very fertile. The reason I kept this older map, although we saw the other maps last time, is because it shows which parts were controlled by the Sassanid kingdom, and much of the land was belonging to the king and the rulers. And then when Iranians were defeated and left to inside Iran or completed the dynasty was overthrown, much of this land was without owner. But there are parts which their owners stay. So we're dealing with 2 types of land. And much of the story, that's what people want to get, what people thought theirs is this land, they disputed this land. And then you see Kufa is just this edge of it, Nadan is the other side, and all the story, Basra is this side. So all of the stories here. I mean, just to see it, I mean, I could put the English map, but I thought these old names also help to know that. I don't go to try, but in the city of Kufa, we said is built, and I'm not going to go through that. In 17 Hijra, the mosque with the center, the one I showed you, the mosque at Darul with the center, the tribes were around it. And I'm not sure how much this lecture really we can reach to the Kufa grievances, but because that's the reason I kept it. But what is important is the mixture of the class structure group, the type of people we have. I just did the review in case we reach to it. One is the nobles or ashraf or the leaders of the tribes, the aristocracy. One is the ordinary people, which are Arabs, ordinary people, Ajams, mostly Iranian. They were from the beginning, at least 5,000 Iranian, about 20% over there. They have much of the markets maybe. The Mawali, which are Iranians after conquest associated to tribes, maybe from the other regions, semi-free, semi-not free, Abid slaves. And then there are many people also different, many of them military, Arabs mostly military, but other people were falahin, agriculture or crafts and so on. And then, okay, also important, there are some companions of prophets, very influential, and a class which is gradually developed, which are called Qurra. That is essentially those who know Quran or read Quran or recite Quran or teach Quran. The issue of stipends also is important. So I'm not going through that. Omar make a structure, 3 levels of people, and each get differently. and the difference was relatively huge. A group would get 3,000 to 5,000, the first group, another group 2,000 to 3,000, another group 200 to 1,500, and many of them in the bottom part. So the variation could be very large. How this was distributed, these are all big things. Those who were distributing this money were very influential. This money was getting very more and more important because the government can control. I mean, actually, this is the stream which Ibn Ziyad used very efficiently, Umayyads used very efficiently. They made it annual, and then you can easily cut you out of it. And when you cut out of it, you're kind of on your own because many of these, maybe you have to see it a little bit later on the set, that they didn't own directly the land or other things, and much of their livelihoods is there was a collective, the money they received from the collective, like the investment, like you're making income from your retirement or your stock dividends, and then suddenly you're not getting stock dividends. So then if as much of your money is at retirement is like that, kind of bad situation. I'm not going through that because this would take time. But the things about the land, the definitions are sometimes not exact. So stick to the concept, and if I'm using a word like sometimes as a section of thing or the whole thing, bear with me. But generally, after conquest, there are two types of land. One is the one I prefer to put it like that, which the owners stayed. Before Islam, in that Arab area, the owners, the Dahabin stayed. But because they were conquered, they have to pay land tax because of the land and how much produce they have. And also because they were non-Muslim, they have to pay jizya, poll tax. So a tax burst individually based on the land. But this is for non-Muslims staying in the land. But much of the land ownership has either the king or the big part of it or escaped. The commanders, the rulers, the lords of Persian is living in there, so they escaped. So this was ownership goes to Muslims, and this is what we have to see how it's divided, and I will go through it more. But 20% of it, according to the Quran and similar to the khums we have, goes to the imam, to the leader, to the government, and the rest should have been divided as booty of war among the conquerors. That was the norm at the time of Prophet and after that. But Umar, in a decision which still seems reasonable, because he's worried if divided the land, all this army would disperse, everybody go to his own land and he would not see them. He did not let they be divided and kept it as a collective. And then the Falahin, which were there, still work on it, but the income of those lands were given to those conquerors or to the benefit of the city. So with the lands associated to Kufa, when the income was generated, was given to people of Kufa or spending the Kufa land for the Basra and so on. And this was a huge belt, okay? And this is kind of the generality. But I want to go, for now I want to go, I skipped the glossary and all this stuff. Let's go to Osman. If we find time, then we can see this content in Kufa. And let's see how it goes. Look, Uthman ibn Affan was born in 573 between 573 576 AD. So Prophet was born 570. So this is 40 years before Be'sa, or about 53 years before Hijrah for Prophet. So he was about 3 to 6 years younger than the Prophet, but Prophet Muhammad, but more or less the same age. But he passed away at 656, about 25 years after the Prophet Muhammad. So 35 after Hijrah, he passed away. So Osman, was not passed away, he was kind of killed. So let's summarize it. He lived a long life. And so to compare it, when Omar was died, he was about 60 years old. But when Osman after get to power, he was already between 68 to 71 years old. So he was already old man, older than all other ones, older than how much Prophet lived, later Imam Ali lived, and older than Abu Bakr came to power. And I think many people anticipated his reign doesn't his caliphate doesn't took that long because he got much older. And interestingly, he got the longest. He stayed over there at 13 years old. So you have an old man, relatively now, okay, things have changed, coming to power, have in mind, older than anyone else, and then we'll see other features for him. And then he naturally or partially it have to rely on other people. He cannot do anything. And then he has some other features. So you see, he's I mean, if you're doing Hijri is 13 years. If you solar calendar is about 12 years. So you see, this is the period. I mean, he married. We'll see. His one of these more important characteristic was that he first married one of the daughters of Prophet, the older sister, Hazrat Fatima Ruqayya. And when Hazrat Ruqayya passed away in Medina, he married the other sister, which was widowed by that time, Kulthum. So he has, at least it is said, he has married two daughters of Prophet Muhammad from Hazrat Khadija. So his official title is Zul Nurayn. So I'm kind of what in the early part I'm writing is the way there's no, is the way Sunni brothers would present it too. So I don't want to be far off that at the early part. The interesting thing, I think, one interesting thing is that first Osman was born from Affan ibn Abil As, which was from Umayyad. So his father was from Umayyad. His mother, Arwa, was the son of a Quraysh, which is Abd Shams. So both grandfathers were Umayyad and Abd Shams. So Abd Shams a little bit bigger one before Umayyad. So it from the grandfather side is there. And both of them wealthy clans of Quraysh tribes in Mecca. You know, Bani Umayyah was a sub-branch of Abd Shams, but still Abd Shams in overall is powerful. But the interesting is this: his grandmother from mother's side, the mother of his mother, Arwa's mother was Hakam bint Abdul Muttalib. So his grandmother was daughter of Abdul Muttalib, that is the grandfather of Prophet. And more interestingly, I saw Professor Matnoon saying that Hakam was a twin sister of Abdullah, the Prophet's Muhammad's father. I haven't heard that before. It may be true. It may be they have made it because, you know, Abdul Muttalib had few wives, and then he had a son, and then he promised, if I got my 10th son, give me son. Give me son. If I got 10 sons, I will sacrifice the 10th, which he got. It was Hazrat Abdullah. He was going to sacrifice. Now, no matter what, it seems either, is a half sister or full sister, even twin sister. So make it close. So in this sense, Prophet Muhammad is cousin to the mother of Osman, and so this is a interesting connection. And because they are the same age, they know each other very well. And then overall, even besides the Abd Shams and Bani Hashim, they're close. They're not that big away. It says Osman was born in Taif. It's not a big deal. They say he knew how to read and write, which is very probable if there were only 22 or more, because he was doing a lot of trading. It seems, and the way he was, it seems very reasonable. He's the type knowing reading and writing. But the important thing, I think, is very important. This for all his character, and people have less emphasized on it. His father passed away young. His father passed away young, and his father was very rich, and his father doesn't have any other son. Osman has only a daughter, Amina, his sister, I'm sorry. His father has only a sister, a daughter of Osman has Amina. So in very young age, or maybe sooner, I don't know exactly when he lost his father, was he orphan or something like that. He's a rich young guy, He continued the business of his father, and his business flourished. So already got huge inheritance. He is well connections to all the families, and he is very young age. Is very well known, established, rich. Okay, this makes his connections to Prophet Muhammad also closer, because Prophet Muhammad also lost his father. But the reverse is that he didn't get much inheritance from his father, because father wasn't that rich. And then there's also question. Anyway, I don't know exactly the inheritance true, because Prophet Muhammad born after his father passed away and those stuff. But anyway, putting this aside, they have some similarities, and then there are connections too. So the mother is first cousin; they must know each other. It seems Osman's mother marry again and marry another person. Let me show you. This could be important. Again, these are, I mean, some of it I find honestly, these yesterday, today when I'm doing this. Look, it's this Walid ibn Uqba has a huge influence on him and a huge problem for him. Besides the Marwan, these two really messed up his caliphate. Uh, and he could be, I mean, this is maybe also matching with some Sunni view and stuff like that. He was very uninfluenced Marwan, but also Uqba. But this Malik is his half brother. His mother, after his father passing away, married Uqba here. And then, so this Malik is half brother to him. And then occasionally also he has foster brother, which that foster brother, Rizai, that by milking they become brother. Those also is there. So these are important, that maybe as he's very young age, he's much dependent or connected to his family, because that's his characteristics. He's very favoritism. He loves his own family and all his own family. Anyway, it says, it seems they say he's one of the early converts after Imam Ali, and Zayd ibn Haris said, there's adopted son of the Prophet, and then Abu Bakr is one of the first. Maybe a few others were there. Definitely Jafar ibn Abi Talib, maybe Abu Talib, all those stuff. Besides Bani Hashim, outside Bani Hashim, he was one of the early ones. That's a possibility, because it says he was in a trade from Syria coming back. Then we have seen other countries, they may reflecting on the bad situation in Saudi Arabia. So, and then Abu Bakr was also merchant too. They are young, all the same age. A prophet maybe stopped doing trades after marrying Khadija. So it's possibility. And then anything, very soon, he's among the first group migrating to Abyssinia. And then he was able to establish his business because of the connection we had before in Abyssinia too. So in Mecca was rich, after Islam was rich, and then he go to Abyssinia. Again, he have relatively successful, rich life over there. And then there is some strange story, which this must be investigated more, that after a while when they're Abyssinia and kind of near, even close to the peak of the pressure of Quraysh and Muslims, 610, Nabuwa started. Prophet is chosen of the Prophet. So even if it is 611, I think it's a little bit early. Uthman become Muslim, but again, it's 611, 12, 13 around that time, the first 3 years. But after, if you become Muslim, then after 615, 5 years after Besa, he's migrating to Ethiopia. But then at year 9, he's coming back, because the rumor spread in Abyssinia that the Quraysh has accepted Islam. Not sure how much this story is true. And no matter what, Uthman decided with his wife, daughter of Prophet Ruqayya, and few other Muslims coming back to Mecca. But when they come to Mecca, they notice things are not that good. Actually, Quraysh is slide is misplaced. Sorry. But then when they come to Mecca, they state, they come back, but it seems he was rich, he was a trader, and he was connected to those families. They let him stay and continue his business. And then he is, and then he was among not the first group that migrated to Medina, but it seems at least some of the sources say, again, I don't want to dispute in it. Soon after the Hijrah, he also again migrated to Medina with the Ruqayya, daughter of the Prophet. For a while, stayed with one of Ansaris, but he was rich enough to buy a house. And again, he didn't have that hardship. And he was able to transfer some of his wealth because he was able to conduct business again from Medina. And maybe this time because of the connection developed with Abyssinia. Now remember, things maybe have been changed. This we don't know very well. Because of Roman and Persian wars, which is around its peak, some of traditional routes of trade may be cut, but Abyssinia could have been a good place because it's far away from war in Africa. Maybe things could be shipped to from Mediterranean Sea to Egypt, and then by Red Sea going down. I don't know exactly how, or through the land, or buying from Abyssinia. So anyway, he was able to keep his business too, and again in Medina was successful too. So in everywhere, Mecca, Abyssinia, Medina, he was successful, he had a good life. And it is not the case, even Professor Malcolm says, it is not the case that he spent all his money for the cause of Islam. No, he could, I mean, he was giving, but it's not like that. At least regarding Abu Bakr, they say it, sometimes they say that, but that's also half and half. Regarding Hazrat Khadija, we know it is the case. She spent everything she had for the sake of Islam. So he was successful. I mean, I have to say some of the stories to be fair. For example, besides, in Medina maybe is a good place for him to flourish because most of the markets with the control of the Jews. Medina people were agricultural people. They don't know much about the business and trade. Jews do it. So a Muslim community maybe want to establish himself, meet Muslim traders, and Uthman knows things very well, it seems, could be very influential by the connections, the experience, and connection with the Prophet, and his manner. I mean, we'll see that. He's a little bit different. I mean, to be fair, is personally different a little bit. The strength, there are some good in him and some very strong weaknesses. And it is said that because when Imam Ali wanted to marry Hazrat Fatima, he wasn't doesn't have enough money much to give the dowry, and this, so Osman bought Imam Ali's shield for 500 dirhams, and then they gave 400 for the Hazrat Fatima, and 100 was used for the wedding ceremony. But Osman gave him Imam Ali armor back as a wedding gift. So. But this is an observation. Some other gentlemen, RBC Bodley, which wrote the history of Prophet Muhammad, had done it. And then Madelon would do the same too, Professor Madelon, which I will say it again. But I wanted to say it now, and then we'll see. Look, during the life of Prophet, Uthman didn't have any position. It was no outstanding figure, no commanding position, no rulership, no, for example, substituted governorship, no mission, no campaign, nothing. He is not there. Even when he's not there, there are some things from him which are not so good. For example, in one of the cases, they captured a Meccan spy, which was a dangerous situation after Uhud wars. Even in Badr, he was excused from war. I mean, that is the case. Kind of Prophet know his character, that he's not type of war type of person. It seems that I think really Prophet know him from the childhood, who he is, how he is, and he's not good for war. So and at that time it seems Ruqayya, his wife, the daughter of Prophet, was sick. So Osman stayed at home to take care of her, which some of the other people, because they could war, if they want to do the excuse, the Quran really clearly reprimand them. In Uhud, he escaped. There's evidence he escaped. And after Uhud, there is a Meccan spy they captured, Muawiyah ibn al-Mughira, which is a kind of cousin of Osman. And then he kind of gave a protection to him. There was a rule, sometimes you can protect somebody. And this wasn't very good, because this was a spy, and there's some other situation which he was there. Prophet says, okay, I give, okay, because you give protection, I will accept it, but he can only stay 3 days. And he has to leave. And when he stays or we capture him, and even he started to escape. We were following him. I mean, something like that. But Prophet left for a Ghazwa, another war. Osman didn't go. This guy stayed longer. You know, Osman prepared for him a camel and food in the way, and kind of walked with him. At the end, it seems Muslim captured him. You know, the stories that he punished him and so on. But you know, the way Osman is not even active, and the only place he's active, giving shelter to spies, shows a little bit odd character from him. In the time of Prophet, it is said he was in the farewell pilgrimage. In the Shia sources, it is said he was present in the Ghadir and Bay'ah with Imam Ali. During Ridda wars, he's not at all active. He's remained in Medina and as advisor to Abu Bakr. And it is said he, in the deathbed of Abu Bakr asked him to dictate, to write his will. And during that writing, Abu Bakr became unconscious, and then a part of the will was designating a successor. And Osman from himself write Omar. When Abu Bakr became awake, asked him, okay, what is happening, what we were writing? And then Osman told him, okay, we're writing the will and to decide the successor, choose the successor. And I put the name of Omar, and Abu Bakr said, yeah, it is good. That's exactly what I want to intend to say. And nothing else. Nothing else. Even in the time of Omar, there is nothing special about him. No, 10 years of Omar, Futuhat, there is nothing special, whether it is he's in a conquest, not as a commanding position, a governor of a city, nothing. I mean, it's not, Shia stories doesn't have it, there's nothing. And then I will say again, I will show it to you, the judgment. Another summary which I give from Professor Matmoon is again, he himself said that, indicate that. But it's the question is this, how he was chosen a caliph. And that's, we are looking to this council or electoral council, which kind of in the time of Omar was chosen, and then how it ended up, he became the caliph. And look, he's old, he's the oldest, he has no record of military commanding position, and no special achievement, especially good trader making money for himself. There are some stuff about his marriages I really don't have time to do. This is important thing. Madeline followed. He's really was mostly interested in marrying with a little bit besides the daughters of Prophet, which both passed the time Prophet was alive. So then he started, after that, he didn't marry from Bani Hashim or anyone. Mostly married from Makhzum, Abd Shams, the big tribes, so all the wealthy and some of those even read the tribes. The most important thing, because I want to say before I forgot, his wife, Naila, which is besides him when he's killed. And then a story was made that for protecting him, saving Osman from swords, he brought her hand in front of the swords, and 4 of her fingers overcut. I think the story. Naila, her name was Naila. She stayed with her, because we'll see if we can see, or I don't think we have much time, but everybody deserted him, kind of, he was alone. Naila was from Bani Kal. And this is very interesting, a coincidence. I think very, very crucial. It's a thing. Because remember, Bani Kal was the tribe, Christian tribe in Syria, which Muawiyah put all his power on it. And then Yazid's mother was from there. Yazid was married from them. They also were very influential. Yazid was chosen as successor. They were backbone of Muawiyah all the time in the wars with Imam Ali. Now, Naila is also from the same tribe, from another leader, wife of Osman. I think Osman and Muawiyah in the coordination married from that tribe. So in this way, Osman kind of makes son-in-law of Kal too. And that's Muawiyah use it very efficiently. That, okay, the Caliph, your son-in-law, is killed, and how they treated his wife, and so on. So all those, if that connection wasn't there, maybe Kal, it seems, made a personal team for Kal to defend later on Osman and who were the killer of Osman. So that's that. I said it before I forgot. But let's go to this council, because it's important. You know, one other thing I should have mentioned at the beginning, I forgot kind of. Look, there are events happening in Iran or outside. I usually use to use some contemporary events to shed light to what was happening 1400 years ago to understanding it better, because it helps to give similarities. Local now is like that. So, for example, the pattern of immigration of tribes, like the immigration of Muslims or Shias to US and so on. The reverse you can do too. I mean, which people do see some of the similarities of what's happening there to what's happening now, especially with the reign of Osman. Uh, I'm not sure how much I want to. I think you can think like it. I think it's obvious. If I find time to say it, it's obvious you will see it and can connect it. So I let you do it yourself. You know, the importance of Mal al-Muslimin, you know, waste of it, squandering it, importance of the life of people, which Imam Ali was very sensitive about it. All those corruption which can destroy any rule. I'm not sure how much time I can really go to the rebellion against Osman because it's important, but let's take us off our mainstream. So let's go to the council because it's important. It's important why things, what happened at Sarifa, what was the whole things happening. And you know, Sarifa brought tribalism and so on. Look, so let's see what it is. You know, Madelon says some of the this part's from Professor Madelon, previously wasn't. It says, okay, some of the details may be contradictory legendary, but certain aspects are certain. The council members, look, the 6 persons were appointed for the council, but the 6th one, which is Talha, didn't make it back on time to the Medina to really be part of the actual process. There have been some other stories, which I think those are distorted stories alleged by, so let's go from this main line. So the council, in fact, was consist of 5 members, Abdul Rahman Auf, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, which you know is the father of Umar Sa'd, Uthman, Ali, and Zubair. And I show it to you. One of the important things is this, and as I said, Talha, which was the tribe of Abu Bakr, the clan of Abu Bakr. He wasn't in Medina, he was away. And then Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas kind of act as his proxy. Look, among all these, the one which Umar was getting closest, especially in the later years, were Abdul Rahman Auf. Before that, he was Abu Ubaidah Jarrah, which I told that he got the plague and he passed away, and that kind of opened up for the rise of Muawiyah. If he was alive, Omar wouldn't be hesitant to put him as the 3rd caliph. But here things are different, and we can talk a lot about this council, why this people, why he included Imam Ali and so on. The part of it, Omar is sticking to his principle. He's believing the rulership is to Quraysh. So should be among Quraysh. So, and then he assumed one of these 6 will be the ruler, and they're leading candidates. So there is no Ansar over there. But there could be a question, maybe Ansar even accepting Omar's rule that Quraysh should be a ruler, which is not necessarily Islamic. We say the most pious would be. Imam Ali was chosen not because Imam Ali should have been, not because it was Quraysh or Bani Hashim or something, because it was the best, he was the pious, he was the most knowledgeable. That's the criteria. That's the, okay. But it could be Ansar at least come and say, okay, among you Qurayshis, Ansar did all sacrifice. And these guys are in Medina. Everything's still happening in Medina, the city of Ansar. So they completely neglected. At least you can invite Ansar, say, okay, among these gentlemen Qurayshis, which one do you like more? Okay, definitely Imam Ali would be elected. I mean, from a long time, they knew he's the tribe blind, he is not doesn't favoritism. So in this part, Omar stick to his word, but the other side is some Islamicity bring to the story. I think in this part, Omar is better than Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr really relied totally on the aristocracy of Quraysh. So right now, around this time or before that, Muawiyah is a governor in Syria, and Amr ibn As was governor in Egypt. So while Imam Ali has no position, Uthman, which never had any position, so he could have choose them as part of the council or candidate, so on, but he excluded them. So at least this part, we're going to stick to the principle that these enemies of Islam, these who converted Islam to Islam much later after conquest of Mecca, shouldn't be part of it. So because you can see how his logic works. But clearly, this council, everybody has said, is dead to not Imam Ali be elected. I think is a legitimate or apparently gimmick, legitimate trick that somehow saying Imam Ali is considered but not considered. And then why Imam Ali become influential with the one which is in time of Saqifa was left with not much helper, and then after all these conquests and success with Omar, now Omar includes him. I mean, there are different reasons. I mean, one of them maybe we can look at positively, but the other side is that I think after the conquest, although this brings a lot of credence to Omar, but many other tribes get influential, including Yemeni tribes, which they converted to Islam at the hand of Imam Ali, and the kind of they were asking, where is he? The legends of him, the all now people know about what he did or who he was, his character, his manner, all this he was made a very, very legitimate candidate. Now they cannot say he's young too or all those stuff. So he's here. But why it is not, look, the problem is the relationship and how he's decked over there. And the promise is that, Abdurrahman Auf married the half-sister of Osman. So in this case, they're related. And then maybe we don't need to go too much detail of this. And the things go such a way very soon. I mean, maybe Omar wanted Abdurrahman be elected, Abdurrahman Auf be elected, but Abdurrahman Auf very soon excused himself and said, okay, I don't want to be the next Caliph, but I will help you to decide who will be the Caliph. And then if you see kind of he start to interview people, talk to the people, and then soon Zubair and Talha and Abi Waqas also excuse themselves, even remained only Osman and Imam Ali. Imam Ali actively pleaded his own case and explained that all the reasons you say and all the reasons are there. I'm the most suitable person, the closest kin of the Prophet Muhammad, and all the experience, all the knowledge, so on. Osman wasn't very active. I mean, Osman was very active. It's okay, just candidate. Maybe they were pushing him. And at the end, look, Osman was elected, and again, we can see that some people say Osman was elected because he was a weak candidate to be manipulated, and that could be. They don't want to be Imam Ali, but they say, okay, let's save time, not Imam Ali be there. He's old, he's 68, 71 years old. By standard, that time is old. And also he's weak and can be influenced. So it could be really Bani Umayyads notice, oh, this is the best time, and know his character, how he's so much loved the family, despite being Muslim, despite being praying, so much he loves his family, maybe because he was losing his father so young. I mean, not so young, but a little like that. And then you can see, but other parts of Quraysh also really were strong against Imam Ali. And then so it's kind of the Quraysh aristocracy one more time after Saqifa and the Shura go against Imam Ali. You see, one example I have is that Makhzum, that other tribe, rich branch of Quraysh, backed Osman. You know, this week, let me read this part. Makhzum also backed Osman against the Prophet's cousin, the Makhzumite leader Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a, governor of Al-Janad, so he was a governor, warned Abdurrahman Auf. Because Abdurrahman was going this way, interviewing. Abdurrahman is relatively a wiser person. I'm not saying, I mean, he was a Sahaba, so, and he's, okay. But he warned him. Look, I think the Makhzum might notice maybe Abdurrahman is not fully certain behind Osman. He said, if you pledge allegiance to Ali, we shall hear and disobey. And that's very strange. This is a Quranic word, which Quran is criticizing Jews, that they say we shall hear and disobey instead of saying we shall hear and obey. But he uses the word, a phrase that Quran really strongly criticized. But if you pledge allegiance to Osman, we shall hear and obey. That's again. Where's the Quran? So fear God ibn Auf. So they on unclear certain terms telling, look, you have to choose Usman. Imam Ali didn't have much support. And some people say maybe he was able to persuade Saad. But the problem, even Zubair switched. Zubair, which at the time of Saqifa stood by Imam Ali, was in the house of Hazrat Fatima, and this situation switched side. And I think they have promised him well. And then later on, you see he was very well rewarded. And then therefore, they decided, even Talha was there, not there, and effectively they announced the decision in the public meeting in the mosque, and then they make it Imam Ali be there, and because they wanted Imam Ali definitely give the bay'ah, and they finishing the case. Thus, they're putting heavy pressure on Imam Ali to pledge allegiance immediately, and Imam Ali accepted and reluctantly accepted. Let me go forward. Let's go to some of the summary of Professor Madnour, and then I will see what I can say, because some of it is important, and then I see whether we have time to go to specific of Kufa. Look, I read some of this because I think these are good, because it's not a summary of Shia or something, or is a summary of somebody which is really know his stuff very well. Osman rule ended after, so he's elected. But then when he started explaining Osman chapter, he started with this. Osman rule ended after 12 years amid rebellion and with violent death of the Caliph. The grievances against his arbitrary acts were substantial by the standards of time and widely felt. And this also we have to look. Okay, we qualify this part a little bit later. The historical source contained lengthy accounts of the wrongdoings of which he was accused. Toward the end of his reign, the satisfaction opposition to his conduct appeared to have been almost universal, except among his keen and close associates. Couple of things, couple of myths are there in our Sunni Brothers' own textbook. First, the satisfaction is only not happening in provinces. Look, we have big 4 provinces, big centers of cities. One is Iraq, and 2 big cities, Kufa and Basra, with military people. Then we have Sham, which has Hems and Damesh, and Muawiyah is in control. And then Misr, which is Fustat, is there. They all were dissatisfied, except Syria, which Muawiyah is in charge. The other cities were all dissatisfied, very angrily. And actually, Egyptians were the more dissatisfied one, have a bigger presence in Medina when they rebel against Osman and his downfall. But Malik Ashtar from Kufa was the one able to manage the things. Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, the son of Abu Bakr, was raised in the house of Imam Ali, was with the Egyptians. There is a very interesting thing. There is a very big companion of Imam Ali, Amr ibn Hamad al-Khazai, which is generally Kufan, but is among the Egyptians' rebellion. And I think he was important to persuade everybody at the end to go to Imam Ali for bay'ah. Look, these are all killed by Muawiyah. Muawiyah didn't hesitate to kill all the real ardent supporters of Imam Ali. Some were killed during his time of Imam Ali, like Malik Ashtar, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, assassinated or poisoned. But Amr ibn Hamad al-Khazai with Hujr ibn Adi after Imam Ali. Muawiyah really go after him, and what's the name? He escaped, but at the end they find him. He goes from this place to that place, even hidden in the caves. Very hard times, but they find him and martyred him. So this Shaheed Amr al-Khazai was the leader of the Egyptians too. So the point is that the satisfaction was all around, and not only in the provinces, in Mecca and Medina. And not only in Mecca and Medina, but also among these electoral councils. Nearly all of them were not happy with Osman. But the difference, the satisfaction sometimes different reasons. You know, why you didn't appoint me, or why didn't you give me money, or give him too much. Aisha, all of them, Amr and As, all of them, these Atalha, these are all instigators of rebellion against Osman. And so the satisfaction was all around, except his family and very close associate. It was only his violent death that, having been turned into the political tool behind Muawiyah, came to absolve him in Sunni ideology from any ahdas, wrongdoings, and make him a martyr and a third rightly guided caliph. Look, this concept of rightly guided caliph is a very later construct. Is by Ahmed ibn Hanbal, is after Imam Reza is made. So you see, about 220, 30, 40 after the Hijrah. We are talking about 35, about 200 years, a little bit less later on. And then he made a compromise because those pro-Osmanis or pro-Umayyads didn't accept Imam Ali as caliph. Some of the Shias or other people didn't accept Osman. So he made a compromise to four and kind of solved it, and it still does. And as a result, some of the stories are wrong about him. For example, the myth is that Osman reigned about 13 years. The first half of it was good. The second half of it became bad. No, from the first year, the first day, the partisan was clear. He changed the reign of Quraysh to the rulership of Quraysh, the rulership of Umayyads, and only choose his relatives as the governors and the position. And very people which are not even against Islam, they're very, very, I mean, even in his enmity with Islam, were very extreme. So, for example, he put the governor of Egypt, a person which when Prophet conquered Mecca, he forgave everybody, including Abu Sufyan, so general amnesty. But there are 2-3 people, Prophet said, everywhere you find them, anywhere you find them, kill them. And even if they're on the Kaaba and touching the covering of the Kaaba, kill them. But Osman give protection to this Abdullah and Abi Sarah. Okay, give protection and disobey the command of the Prophet Muhammad, and then later on put the same person governor of Egypt and stick by him. This guy, the problem with him, he wasn't shrewd to sacrifice some. Many of these rulers, governors, the kings, they sacrifice the prime minister to continue their own rule. Osman is so weak in this part. Really strange, a little strange personality, and he was old too, relatively. So look, Osman's wrongdoing should be emphasized, must seem trivial from the perspective of later generations. And this also noticing that things start to go bad gradually. I mean, if you look, this is irony that people were not satisfied. Most of his mistakes were financial, nepotism, putting relative on the position, squandering money, moving around the wealth, if we can explain it more. But interestingly, it seems he didn't order to kill any Muslim directly, except the punishment of murder and adultery, which is regular things. The arbitrary acts of violence which he accused were confined to beatings, imprisonment, deportation. These were not good in themselves because he applied to the companions. But it's not like later on that Muawiyah kills like everybody. Muawiyah moved the post or the game to another level. You know, Osman, deported or beat Abdullah ibn Masud, big Sahaba in Kufa, Abu Zar Ghafari, very big one. Okay, it was in Syria, Medina, Ammar Yasser, and so all these. Especially when they are big companions of Prophet, but not rich or prominent or ashraf, he really treat them bad. So he has some aristocratic attitude. So this is one thing. And one other very interesting thing, from the very first year, there is some signs that he was reflecting and thinking to put his son as his successor. I believe that's it's not Muawiyah started it. He started it, but his son was young, and in the deal maybe is part of the favoritism to Zubair. Look, Zubair, I maybe a little skipped. Zubair switching from Imam Ali to Osman was very decisive in defeating Imam Ali, because even Saad gives allegiance to Imam Ali, or a promise, I support you, was very weak and far away. But Zubair, they knew, was a strong ally Imam Ali from the Khalifa onwards. When he's switching, you lose a big ally. Like, for example, you lose your Malik Ashtar, or you lose your, there, something like that. You big, and then it seems Osman was telling Zubair, okay, till my son is young to reach old age. It seems this son, although Osman was old, but this is maybe from later marriage or whatever. The son was really young. So you can be my designated successor. I mean, okay, let me say, Osman was sick and they were worried that this may, he pass away because he's old to get a sickness, which is serious. So they start to talk about who should be your successor. And during that time, there was kind of a saying, okay, maybe Zubayr temporarily be there. And then after Zubayr, after his son reached to the age, his son. But you know, the whole idea complementing to put your son as the next ruler, which is no, you don't have any specific achievement, and your son, it shows some strange mind. This wasn't implemented, but there are in the textbooks, not Shia textbooks, historical textbooks, important one, and Professor Matlum work on it. So this is another thing, very early. All the stuff are very early happening. It's not that he, okay, suddenly after 5-6 years is changed. But you know, yeah, at least we have to say, as Madalong said, he was by nature averse from bloodshed. So maybe he really didn't, that's the reason he go to the war. He was soft. He was doing his prayers, maybe, but that also shows doing all recitation of Quran and prayer without being careful. Other stuff maybe is not right. So he's contradictory. And then also we see the relation of Imam Ali is a little with him. They kind of notice he's soft-hearted. They know he's not cruel and wicked, but the outcome is not that much better if you are under the influence of relative and they give everything to them to do. So that's one of the parts of it. And then you see, I kind of, this is good. I read fast again. I studied this before. While Osman was a distinguished, highly successful merchant, he had at no time, this is Professor Mandler's, at no time before his election displayed any qualities of public leadership. Among the 6 members of the Electoral Council, he was the only one who had never been trusted by Prophet Muhammad or first 2 caliphs with leading any raid or an army. Before the election, he had no political ambition and can hardly, and this is important. While I'm reading it, I'm telling you what this made in his mind. Before the election, he had no political ambition, can hardly even thought of himself a potential candidate for the supreme right. Yet he was not chosen by the electors for okay. So why he was chosen? The guy which does all this stuff. Okay, somebody like Belhausen, which we mentioned in him, is a great scholar of 19th century, early 20th century German, very, very great. He was thinking he was really chosen by the electors, his weakness and to be manipulated, to buying time, saving time, that they thought he would die soon. And then, okay, but at least we find time to not Ali be elected to see what we can do. But he says, Madlogi thinks, no, the real thing is that he was the real counter candidate against Ali. Because if they didn't go for the Osman, we go to the other of 4, things wouldn't work, maybe as well. And then he argues, maybe helps us to understand the mindset. First, okay, he also was somehow related to Prophet Muhammad. He married 2 daughters of Prophet Muhammad, which at least to the ordinary people, I mean, you can match it. They don't distinguish maybe some of them between Hazrat Fatima and the other 2 daughters. But the most important thing is that the aristocracy of Mecca were more happy with him. And then one problem at least, I'm not 100% with Professor Matlum, but I think Belhausen has some point in it. He says if they had gone to somebody else, then some of Abd Shams maybe had, because of tribal instinct, had to support Imam Ali. You know, because this tribalism, this is the whole thing. Prophet wants to abolish Umar and Abu Bakr Islamic, brought it in full force, and everything was tribe. You paid by your tribe. Your war grouping was with tribe. So and that's again we see it in Karbala. Many of those going from Kufans to Karbala, they said these are cousins. They don't kill each other. So let's not mix ourselves in problem. Okay, let's give Imam Hussein, take it to Yazid. They will not do anything each other. So they thought, okay, at most Imam Hussein was taken to Damascus or Kufa. They will settle down. Because by tribalism, they are the same tribe. They're very close. But the whole logic didn't work here or there. And here wouldn't work too. But it could be, for example, if the Imam Ali was the only candidate, then the Shams should support. But it wouldn't be the case. and then Ansar was completely disregarded. And then interestingly, this Osman was completely unprepared in his office. And then at least as this honesty, when they was elected, he went up and he ascended the pulpit in the mosque and said, apologized and said, oh people, we have not been orators. You know, I haven't recited khutbah. And he means I don't know how to do the khutbah. That's it was khutbah. If I leave, if I remain alive, the oration will come to you proper shape. Ala bacha. I mean, so I will learn to say something, God willing. So you see what kind of man you're dealing with and what kind of orator Imam Ali is. So you see who has got the position. But this is important. Look, how such a person would understand the situation, how he accepts this. This is the really crux of it, and it will connect us to the next lecture, although I continue with some of it. The point is this. He doesn't have this special talent. He doesn't have much. Now, he has a talent as a merchant, okay, but he's not a leader position, commanding position, director position. He hasn't done much anything. He's not an orator, which is really important for any political leader at that time. You need to talk to people, communicate, stimulate them, you know, even nowadays. Anyway, he kind of completely re-understood it differently. He said, look, Prophet Muhammad's exceptional favors towards him, which Prophet maybe like him, know him, okay, he's a soft, he's kind-hearted, he know him from childhood, kept him around, he's his son-in-law in some sense. But Muhammad's exceptional favor toward him and the warming endorsement of his election by Quraysh fostered in Osman a sense that his personal title to the reign in success to Muhammad was more firmly grounded than that of either of his predecessors. Having been raised to the supreme position without any effort on his own part, evidently strengthened his belief that he had been chosen and enlisted by God. I mean, this completely made it reverse. Instead of seeing that he was chosen by the power balance, plan, and negotiation outsider, he thought he's favored by God, he's chosen by God, because he didn't do much about it, and he was the most remotely possible candidate could be, and then he thought really he's chosen, his election is given by God. Because he thought he hasn't done anything for it, he was the least possible candidate, and this completely makes it reverse. You think every action was there to be God, and then this belief completely gives you a different sense. You think you're representing God, you're favor of God, your action, your feeling, your sense is God, and that you can see it. This is the worst can happen. I mean, because he could say, "Oh, Abu Bakr," and he knew the truth. What happened in Sabiqa, everybody. So Abu Bakr and Omar have planned it, did that, and then Omar, Abu Bakr choose, and then and so on. But me, no, I didn't do it. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't plan anybody. They chose me, and this start to cut on him. His mindset was very different. Look at it. The first thing he chose, Abu Bakr. This is the topic of next lecture. The main idea, which we kind of go to the more of the heart of matter. Abu Bakr used the title of Khalifat Rasulullah, the successor of the Prophet. That is, he framed himself in the Sunnah tradition of Prophet. Umar called himself Khalifat Rasulullah, the successor of the Prophet Muhammad. So somehow put himself in the frame of Abu Bakr and Prophet. Uthman didn't go this way. He directly called himself Khalifatullah, Viceroy of God, representative of God. Even did not need too much go to the Prophet Muhammad or anybody else. The new title becomes standard title under Umayyads, which we will talk about it, the importance and so Caliph reigned, and now by the grace of God and his representative on earth, no longer as the beauty of the messenger of God. On this basis, there could be no question of Uthman resigning. Look, what is the point is this: at the time of dispute and rebellion, the people who rebelled had some grievances. They really didn't want to kill Uthman. They didn't want. For every side, they were Muslim. Killing another Muslim without committing an act of murder or adultery was not accepted. Okay, those rebelled didn't want, but they want him to resign. I mean, they put him something in front of him. The other condition was a little rough. He said, you flog people, hurt people, cut their salary, you send them to the other far places. So you have to redress these grievances. But some of it is impossible. If you know, because he lashes with people, they could. I mean, every few people, 100 or 50, they cannot do it on him. So some of the conditions are realistic. The real condition they want, maybe he resign. And all the time, his argument was, I am not going to take off the dress God had put on me. I mean, okay, you can say I don't want to leave the post because I like it. If I leave the post, I have no protection. But the belief that if God has put this mantle on me, which wasn't hand of God, a counsel was there. And if this is the case, everything, if everything is willed by God, okay, you resign will be will by God. If you take it off, will by God, will of God. That could be. He never thought about that. He really thought God has given a gift to him. And he persuaded like himself, okay, I'm not going to leave off this gift, and he stick to it. And then, some details are important too. Really, his Marwan around him always give very bad advice. I maybe go a little bit fast sooner. Maybe go to 10:05 because I think I should show some of the latter part of Imam Ali interaction with him too. And then the grievances of Kufan is left. Maybe I do it next lecture or fast, and then we go to the connected to this issue, Khalifatullah, which is the main idea. Look, so you see, on this basis, there could be no question of Osman resigning. When he lost the trophy, those who have backed the election. So you see, that's the point. If you're elected by the electors, when the electors do not accept you, you have to resign. But this, he doesn't think the electors elected him. He was thinking he was chosen by God. And all those electors were switch side. I mean, some of them for the worldly gain. Maybe Talha wants to be next Caliph or angry from him. Why you do that? You did that. Although despite if Osman favored them a lot to them. All of them. Saad ibn Abi Waqqas, Usman, Abdurrahman, Zubair, Aisha, all going against him. Everybody going against him. But he doesn't face him. Osman does deem it within his right to dispose. And then when you feel you're representative of God, God has chosen you. The next step is you feel, okay, whatever you do is okay. So Osman does deem it within his right to dispose freely of the powers and reaches of the Caliph at his own discretion, and deeply resented any criticism or interference in his conduct by anyone. So now I'm going to skip this part because this is we kind of mentioned it. Let's see, we need it maybe next lecture. But I want to go to some of the things about Ali and Osman, because you see how Imam Ali came in between, and for the benefit of Osman, even because of the close relationship together, try to help him to fix the things. Solve the problem when things goes that bad, when things get out of hand. He was a mediator. There were many other things, I'm skipping on it maybe if what I'm discussing now is just the last year of Osman. But from the first year, there were problems. For example, immediately when Osman became elected, he forgave Omar's son, Ubaydullah ibn Omar. Look, when Omar was assassinated by Abu Lolo the Persian, it seems Abu Lolo escaped, which is also a mysterious thing, how he was able to escape and so on. And then Mughayr ibn Shoba was a shady guy, we discussed it. But he escaped, and then Omar's son, Ubaydullah, not the famous one, no, Abdullah. Ubaydullah still to kill Iranians. A few Iranians find the street, he stabbed them. Like really the same son, So, and then one of them was Hormuzan, which is a very important general commander, which helped Muslim army too, and he killed him for nothing. Hormuzan was completely unrelated to Omar's death. And Imam Ali But Osman immediately come to power, forgave Ubaydullah, and said, "Oh, you know, his father has died. He's grieving, and punishing him is too much." You know, so this kind of arguments let him go. And Imam Ali said, "Look, it's not the case. If I see Ubaydullah anywhere, I will implement the punishment on him." And that's the case when Imam Ali was elected. Ubaydullah and Umar escaped to Muawiyah immediately. So there are many things like that. The issues of how Imam Ali stood against Osman, against treating Abu Zar, uh, Ammar, Abdullah and Mas'ud, many stories. So really, we don't have time. Let's go this part, because I think this part is the last drama, the last part, which things are collapsing. And still Imam Ali, with a good intention, wants to help this guy not let it collapse. So he's, look, Imam Ali's kinship ties made him a natural mediator between the opposition and Osman. Because you see some Osman also, it seems still was there, maybe from the childhood. Again, Imam Ali knows him too. There was that kind of connection, because the way a prophet also take care of Osman, somehow you feel that was there. When the general discontent reached dangerous levels in the year 34, 1 year before Osman is killed, a group of Meccan and other companions asked Imam Ali to speak and to admonish Osman. So Imam Ali addressed him as a spokesman of people, but Osman was not yet prepared to heed his warning. No, I know what I'm doing. I mean, you know, one funny thing, the first year even, he gave 100,000 dirham to, I don't know, Said ibn al-As. I think that's Said ibn al-As. I should 100,000 dirham. And the numbers are unbelievable. You know, I haven't gone to the financial one. Some of them are dirham, some of them dinar. But remember, the most paid person in the whole entire time of Umar were 5,000 dirham per year. So you give a guy 100,000 dirham, you even then later all become dinar, gold coins, which are more. And then they told him, why you're doing this? Umar and Abu Bakr were careful to this kind of money giving, and yet you said you are going to follow Sunnah Umar Abu Bakr. Then he said, look, those guys want to go to heaven by withholding from their kin, the family. I want to go to heaven by giving to my family. You know, yeah, some verses of Quran are atis al-ghurba, but you know, you completely embezzling from government fund, and then giving it to the closest one, associates, only his family, and unlimited. You know, funny things, some things like that even we see the contemporary. I saw one example we have that he gave money to Marwan from Baitul Mal, huge amount, to let him buy the land which belonged to the Kufis. That's the one the Kufis get upset. This lands by those ruled, that was amongst Sabafi, associated with the Kufis, and then like giving you a loan to go buy, for example, a state-owned company. So all of it. Anyway, so you see, you connect the example. There are many interesting examples. Actually, one word I say, maybe I should have next lecture. Dr. Fayrahi, which was a professor in University of Tehran, clergy also, passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. He has a very astute observation. Look, Umar, by making collective those conquested land, produce wealth because everybody receives something. But because he's locked it and not let alone the lands be divided and sell and traded, he didn't let that wealth as a capital. It could be that aristocracy didn't like it, and it could be that was he assassinated. Because it was huge wealth, and these were all traders, and they know what money they can do. And especially many of them were not among the first conquerors. Because the conquerors were ordinary people. I mean, you must be crazy to confront Persian Empire with this might. You know, just some ordinary people, like Malik Ashtar goes, or the other ones goes. And then those conquerors, those who fight the jihad early parts, had more privileges in this regard, which is the tension in Kufa, which we discussed. So have this in mind. Let's read this part faster. I want to finish it by 10 hopefully. So a year later, so Imam Ali addressed him in 34, he didn't listen. A year later, when the Egyptian rebels camped at Zu Khoshab, so Egyptians were the most hardened one, active ones. Zu Khoshab is near Medina. Part of it is because of Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, and another foster son, Osman himself had it. Adopted foster son, Osman had it. And also Amr ibn Hamad Khazai, but also Amr ibn As and Talha. So Egypt was complicated. We had good people, at least the people which are genuinely concerned about corruption, are going against Osman in Egypt. But there are also people which were not themselves very good. Amr As was upset that Osman removed him from governorship and put that Abdullah ibn Abi Sarah, which was his relative, and the one as the Prophet told definitely kill him in the conquest of Mecca. And Aisha even was upset from Osman and all of them. Anyway, a year later, when the Egyptian rebels camped at the Zu Khoshab near Medina, Osman asked Imam Ali to meet at them at the head of delegation of Muhajiri, while also sending Medinan companion Muhammad ibn Maslama at the head of the group of Ansar. So things are not good. Osman noticed things are not good. These guys are military. The army coming they camped near Medina and ready to storm Medina. They are very upset, and so knew that Imam Ali could be good mediator. So Osman knew it. And then besides Imam Ali from Muhajirin, and then he sent an Ansari. This Ansari is very interesting. Muhammad ibn Maslama is from Ansar, but he's not pro Imam Ali. Actually, after Imam Ali reached Caliphate, he goes away. He stays home. He's not involved. He's kind of more pro-Osmanid, but not with Umayyads and not with Imam Ali. But even after Imam Ali martyrdom and abdiction of Imam Hassan, Muawiyah, they kill him, but very indirectly. A guy from Syria break into this home of this Muhammad ibn Maslama and kill him. So because we see he's involved in this whole process. Allah is the mediator. Osman chooses him, but at the end become critical of Osman. And then because of his influence around there, Muawiyah also assassinated him. But anyway, this is a digression. Let's go to the story. Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama persuaded rebels to turn back by promising them in the name of the Caliph redress for all the grievances and agree to act as guarantors. So they said, okay, say what's your problem? They said so and so and so. And they said they promised, okay, we talk with the Caliph, we promise we are the guarantors, but the Osman will listen to you, fix the stuff, and things will be good. But when they returned from the mission, and they when they returned from the mission, when they went to Osman and told him, look, this is serious. This is a serious situation. You have to change the stuff. It cannot go like that happened on the 11, 12 years before this. No doubt pressing on him the need to redress the grievances of the Egyptians in particular. So Osman, there are 3 ceremonies during this period after this moment he gives. In the first ceremony after the return, Osman first told them, okay, I'm going to go to khutbah and say, okay, I will change it. But then he talked to Marwan. And Marwan, his cousin, has very strong influence of him. Marwan changed the whole thing. Marwan pressed Osman that go and say that Egyptians have returned to their country, realizing that the charges against their imam had been false. So Egyptians came, like this is very contemporary. Egyptians came and all upset. They know what they're upset about. They moved from all Egypt to Medina, and then they got a promise things were fixed. The Caliph goes up. They noticed I was right. There was no grievances, no mistakes, and everything was okay. They were misunderstood. They were wrongly thinking they have grievances. So, and then why the reason Marwan said that? Look, Marwan ibn Hakim, the cousin of Osman, the future caliph. Because Marwan was thinking, look, the logic, Marwan worried that any concession would be understood as a sign of weakness and would encourage further mutiny in the promises. And advised the Caliph to state in a ceremony that Egyptians had left convinced and that accusation against him were baseless. So there is no accusation. These are all baseless. And then even, although they knew very well, according to the Shahab al-Zuhri, which is very pro-Umayyad even, but then even pro-Umayyad Marwani, but then even kind of the way he reports shows that, kind of shows Marwan is lying, he knows the truth. Marwan insinuated that Ali, Ali alayhi salam, was behind the rebellion. So people with grievances coming here. Osman used Imam Ali as a mediator. Now they accuse Imam Ali, you are the instigator, which they know very well. Osman, I don't have time to go. They know very well what the situation is. And if it's any instigator is Abu As and Aisha and Talha. They knew very well. Osman knew it without clearly know who, if there is an instigation, but there were grievances. But maybe he deceived himself. Oh, the people are stimulated by foreigners or these guys or so on. And he was behind the rebellion, was controlling the actions of Egyptians, others, and fighting. I will finish this in 5 minutes. Fighting their number insufficient, had sent them back, telling them to prepare, while he would send for an army from Iraq to put an end to oppressive regime of Marwan and his kinsman Osman. So Marwan once said, "This is the trick of Ali. Tell those guys go back because you're not that enough to take care of Osman. Go back, go stronger, come back. And while you're going, getting stronger, coming back, I'll ask the Kufans, Malik Ashtar, and other people come, and then we take care of Osman." So, and then Osman either or really or not was persuaded by him, and after some delay followed his advice in sermon, which is really definitely putting fuel on the fire. This provoked a public outburst in the mosque when Osman said, okay, these Egyptians, they filed all the accusation against the Caliph was false, and they persuaded and went back. This provoked a public outburst in the mosque. Ali impressed upon the Caliph the need to own up in public to his past misdeeds and to show remorse. Osman, after a while, and another ceremony, the next week one, said Osman did so in a ceremony which he invited advice from the spokesman of the people regarding his future conduct. So he changed course a little bit, at least Osman did. Said, okay, tell me what I do. I'm sorry, call me the elders and so on. The speech was well received, but again, Marwan kicked in and persuading the Caliph that his show of humility was a political mistake. And then Osman allowed him to insult and threaten the men assembled in front of the palace ready to offer their advice. He called the elders and leader, come to the palace, give me advice. In the front of the palace, they're waiting to get in. Marwan start to insult them. So this is very bad. Imam Ali in a rage warned Osman that Marwan was out to ruin him and that he, Ali, would not visit him henceforth if he's going to be like this. Osman now visited him in person but failed to placate him. Then Osman went to visit Imam Ali, okay, come on, and so on. And then Osman started to complain. He left charging that Imam Ali had cut his kinship ties to him, deserted him, thus emboldening the people against him. He cannot see his own fault, you know? He's always blaming other people. Shortly afterwards, during Osman's Friday ceremony, public discontent vented itself in the Valley of Pebbles. So again, the next week after that he talked, people got upset. And it's not only Egyptians, this is the people in Medina. You know, Egyptians' army wasn't big. If it wasn't the support of many people in Medina, other places, they couldn't be influenced. So many people in Medina, many big Sahabas, many Bedouins are against Osman. So when Egyptians come, there are many from Kufa and Basra people come, but from Medina, there are many people there, many Ansar. And then, you know, they throw him pebbles, and Osman fell from the pulpit, was carried unconscious to the palace. Again, Imam Ali said, I'm not going to visit him, come and visit him. Imam Ali visited him and inquired about his condition. Osman king blamed him. Now he's visiting, he's sick, they start to blame Imam Ali. Osman's king blamed him what had happened and defiantly warned him of dire consequences if he should realize his ambitions. So starting to threatening Imam Ali, that all is on your, I mean, instead of noticing this is their own fault, people are grievances everywhere, anywhere. It's not only Imam Ali, all other the members of electoral council, everybody is against him. Imam Ali is only the one who's helping him, mediating. Ali left in anger. According to the report of this guy, anyway, a little bit shorten it, that one of the kings of Osman, one of the relative of Osman, sent somebody to talk to Imam Ali, okay, when they noticed Imam Ali left in anger. And then I asked him, what's your situation with Osman? Imam said, look, after Imam Ali, as he left in anger to question about his attitude toward his cousin Osman, this is coming to Sheikh al-Mufid book. Imam Ali reacted angrily, protesting that Osman committed offenses he did. and not that now he, Ali, was being questioned, accused with regard to him. And then we said, were it not for his Ali's position, Osman eye socket would have been pulled out. And Ali kind of said, if I wasn't there to defend Imam Ali, those other rebels already before this had killed Osman. I mean, I'm here to stand, defend, put my prestige, my honor to defend you. Imam Ali was to see Osman one more time when Egyptians rebelled, returned to Medina. Look, during these few weeks which Egyptians returned, Imam Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama promised the Egyptians, go back Egypt, we fix things with Osman, and Osman started not to do anything. Egyptians were on the way back, capture a rider. And then that rider, they're suspicious to this guy. Who is this guy with camel going along far away, passing by them? And then they capture the guy, and then they find a secret letter with him. And the secret letter was a command by Osman to the governor of Egypt. If these Egyptians rebels coming back, capture the leaders and punish them. But interestingly, it still doesn't say kill them. You know, at least you have to say Osman credit that say lash them, banish them, imprison them, or so on. But it doesn't say kill them. You know, later on things, standards go so low, but gradually goes down. You know, it takes a while to reach Imam Hussein, kill Imam Hussein, Karbala for no reason. But it doesn't take that long. It takes 20 years from here to then, 25 years. But it's gradually goes up. And then these Egyptians captured the letter, come back. Although they did, now they played smart too. They asked their guy in Egypt to rebel and kick the Osman's governor out. So they got control of Egypt without the Osman knowing, and they start to come back. Halfway, come back to Medina. And then when they again reaching near Medina, called Imam Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama. Look, this has happened. You promised us, your guarantor, you promised us Osman will fix it. Not only he fixed it, doesn't address our grievances, he sent a letter to prison us, jail us, banish us, whatever. Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama as guarantors of Imam Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama as guarantors of Osman promised to the Egyptians, evidently felt obliged to intervene and came gently to see Osman. When Imam Ali informed the Caliph of the rebels' new grievance, Osman saw that he had no knowledge of the letter. Osman said, and it seems both Imam Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama accepted it. At least Muhammad ibn Maslama accepted it. Muhammad ibn Maslama accepted his word, adding this was the work of Marwan. They start to maybe believe Osman, maybe this guy doesn't know anything. Marwan is doing. But Imam Ali insisted, okay, no matter who sent the letter, you or Marwan, you need to receive Egyptians himself and explain to them the situation. But Osman said, no, I don't want to see these Egyptians. And then say, oh, you are my cousin, you're my family. Please go, you to talk to them, reminding him of the kinship ties. The Caliph pleaded with him to go out to speak to them. But Imam Ali said, no, declined. I mean, it wasn't right. Egyptians were admitted and stated the grievances. Osman again denied any knowledge of the letter, and both Ali and Muhammad ibn Maslama attested that he was speaking maybe the truth. It seems the way we know him, he's straight through. Then the Egyptians said, now demanded that he should resign. If an official letter with his seal could be sent without his knowledge. So that's the right. They say if you're the Caliph and then people doing things under your name, or you put somebody else in charge, which nobody knows who is, you know, somebody else running your whole palace. And the Egyptians now demanded that he resign if an official letter with his seal could be sent without his knowledge. But the Caliph affirmed that he would not take off a garment. The Egyptian now demanded that he resign if an official letter with his seal could be sent without his knowledge. Well, what is his answer is? What the Caliph confirmed that he would not take off a garment with which God had clad him. I mean, he kind of under inflation, whatever does is God working. I mean, if God's selecting you is God's action, your resigning is God's action too. And pleasing to God. But then this part is got his mind, okay, God chosen me, I have to stay all of my life and do whatever I want and choose whatever. As turmoil broke out, all stood up and left, followed by Muhammad ibn Maslama. The Egyptians also left and continued the siege of the palace until they killed him. They didn't want to kill him. They didn't attack, although they were danger for them too, because they were not that big. But the point is that one of the Badriyuns, I think it was Badri, that is Ansar Medina, start to talk from under the balcony to something to the people up there to protect. You know, the rule was that the palace was protected by the kings and the Umayyads and the relative of Osman. So they were the same number. The Egyptians rebels and they were the same. And then Kufans, I don't know when Malik Ashtar and the other groups came around this time, but they were not that big. They were not that big. Egyptians were the bigger one. They say the Egyptians 700, Kufans 200, Basrans 100. They were not that big. But the Medinas were present too. That's the point. One of the Sahabas, Medina companions, Badri, start to talk to them, to the people in the palace and Osman and so on. One of the Mawali of Marwan, the one who was freed by Marwan, and everybody know the guy couldn't do any action without order of Marwan, throw a stone on this Sahabi from the top of the building, and this Sahabi, a Badri, killed him immediately. Instantly. And then, even this time, these rebels didn't attack. Just calling Usman, please give us this guy. Please give us this guy. And then Usman still start to protect Marwan, and Marwan doesn't know about it, or something impossible. Anyway, I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes you feel that he really didn't know, but he's so protective of his king. But anyway, the Egyptian also left and continued the siege of the palace until they killed him. Ali intervened only when informed by one of Jubair ibn Mut'im, one is the close associate of Osman, that the rebels were preventing delivery of water to the besieged Caliph. He talked to Talha and saw it to the water was delivered. Talha was the one. Talha was surrendering the castle and stops for a while, stops delivering water to the palace, but Imam Ali intervened and asked to be delivered. So I will stop here, and the main part, which maybe was my first intention, was the grievances of Kufas. I didn't go, but I kind of thought knowing what the Osman was, and it have some relationship with today's situation, how a government collapses, how state despite a sincere advice to change course, to fix it, and at the time which is need to be fixed is not fixed, and they do not see who their sincere advisor of you think these are the instigators, and the instigators, you don't see who they are. Muawiyah was there. He didn't send any help to Osman, despite Osman asking many times to send an army to protect me, didn't send. And so this is an important story. So maybe a little bit digression, but I think it was important in itself, and also shows the situation in the city. So I stop here. يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. Please recite the salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you so much, Dr. Ghoddoussi, as always. Excellent with all the details. So if you have any question for Dr. Ghoddoussi, raise your hands and I can unmute you. But you're also past the time, but let me ask maybe a short question. I don't know. Dr. Ghoddoussi, what was the impression of people in that time on Osman? I mean, between Muslims, especially that he had married to two daughters of Prophet Muhammad. I mean, it seemed people they liked him, right? I mean, is that the case, or?
But it was positive. But after his rulership was very negative. He was, really was negative. I mean, as I said, even didn't let him bury in the Muslim graveyard. His corpse was laid on the ground for one day. Only 4 people, and maybe his wife, one of his daughters, were present. None of the Umayyads, none of his kings, none of his son, none of Marwan. I mean, he did somehow strange things. I mean, if you write, he kind of disbanded the protected army around him, protected guardians, and said, these guys are after me. But look, he wasn't there. It is a reconstruction of him later on, make him such a thing. First, Muawiyah really used it. As Madlum said, if he wasn't killed and he wasn't the issue of Muawiyah, he really wouldn't be as a good caliph. Even he was at early. I mean, maybe he was initially as Dhun Nurayn. He was a nice man, soft man, but for a while it was very negative. And even I think the Shia stuff like that. And then later on, this reconstruction of Khulafa Rashidin by Ahmad Hanbal. And I don't think Shia accepted it maybe for a while, till the time of, I think, 4th century Buya period. That's also was accepted, so compromised. Uh, so. I mean, you can say so. I mean, I remember even I was debating one many years ago. What it was actually Ramadan, and then we did anyway. We did debating with the Sunni brother with the Salafi views, and then he wants to persuade me. Okay, Osman, it was nice
Yeah,
heart.
actually, sorry to interrupt you. That
Yeah.
was another question. What
Yeah.
is the impression of Sunni people also on Osman compared to the other two caliphs, basically?
Now they are part of the now it's very much constructed different. I think it's very dissociated from reality. You really find somebody comes and think carefully. Okay, I mean all these Sahabas are good, all are friends, all are they fight to each other. They cannot be true. Is very imagined reality. Is a story made that is kind of accepted. They don't think about it. Some who are more studied, more knowledgeable, maybe know, but really most of them think on the order which the caliphs came was the ordered was the God providence, and they're good. I mean they're not as good. He's not on par as Umar and Abu Bakr in one sense, but he's good. I mean his influence. At least we have to say one enduring influence he have. He's this kind of finalized. At least that's what we believe. Finalized or unified version of composition of Quran. You know, Qurans were there, but he standardized the rasp, and that could be his enduring influence. So, but even there, you see some the people he chose, the group he chose. Yeah, no, it's very positive. He's among the four caliphs. He's very nice, kind-hearted, generous. And then the image. I mean, they have contradiction. If they read those who attack him, there are many of them, the Sahaba Badriyans, because most people do not read history, critical history, and we have a made up formulas. So if you go to the details, yeah, it doesn't stand up, and that's part of what we want to do. I mean, look, you have to be suddenly know there is no manafik, everybody is perfect, there is no temptation, there's no greed and power, no test, no nothing, everything's good. I mean, that Salafi person, I told him, look, he said, oh, he was nice, he likes his family, he have family. I said, all of this may be correct, but at least he wasn't good for being a ruler, and he kind of gets silent and changed it. You know, at least he wasn't a good choice to become a Muslim ruler, but all the nepotism, the weakness. Yeah, the brother Mehran said, I kind of showed this. Maybe I can show at the beginning that the fact that he's buried farther away in the Babi from the other caliphs means the other people do not have a good opinion from him. Kind of this is the slide I started with.
I think it's not the first slide, right?
Yeah, that's the one. It's taking a while to go. Yeah, this is the one, and it's really far. I mean, even you know, there wasn't maps. Brother Dr. Masala, you have been a lot to Hajj, mashallah yourself. I've been once, 2001. The non-Shia, non-Iranian Shia didn't have maps. We had maps, and then. I remember kind of they know that some non-Shia brothers saw us going around this place, and you know the graves. They asked, "Where is Osman grave?" And I said, "Okay, let me take you. I will show it to you because I wanted to see it too, and it's far away. It's very far. It's a walk. It's a decent walk." And then I took them to there, show it. Okay, he's here. And yeah, that's exactly no. I mean, I wasn't too strict. No, they were very negative view. They really didn't consider Muslim. Those who killed him, those rebelled against him, really they didn't consider him. If there wasn't a man, you get the upper hand and change the whole history, punish people. You know, for example, there is a tribe near Medina, which are those Bedouin tribe, Arabi tribe, which they live outskirts. And they were very crucial and influential in the Saqifa coup, because Omar said, I wasn't sure of our success on Saqifa until Bani Aslam came into Medina. Abu Bakr and Umar have talked with them, and they're armed and suddenly stormed the Medina, and then kind of the Ansar will be off guard. You know, the city is not full of armed people. of the traditional labor. But this Bani Aslam at some stage become anti-Osman. You know, they don't like Osman, majority of them. I mean, so the whole alliance has changed. Aisha was against Osman, you know, they use bad words. I mean, I cannot go to all those details now. But the point is this, Muawiyah, after he became the Caliph, come to Medina, and then he said, make all the houses of the Bani Aslam dark. And then he means to build walls or close their windows or punish them. And then just one of these Bani Aslam came and to tell him, but you remember, I am a good Bani Aslam because I was among the only four, which, yeah, only 4 people participate in this burial of Osman. I mean, his body was there on the ground in the palace for a couple of days. It's a sad situation. And then there was a white cloth on him. And then they suddenly remembered what's happened to him, and the 4 people, and maybe his wife, another wife, other 5, 6, 7, take him this far away and buried him alone, and nobody considered that. And then for a long time, he was not really known as a good person. And then Muawiyah came, changed it, and then, you know, then this compromise come through by Ahmed Hanbal. Then I was saying that guy comes and said, Muawiyah, okay, remember, I'm the only one from Bani Aslam that helped Osman and burying him properly, so on. And Muawiyah said, oh yeah, I know you are so good one, and then so rewarded him very exceptionally huge. So, you know, yeah, overall it wasn't good. I mean, if you go to detail, the anger and dissatisfaction was kind of universal, except Marwan and even a few kings, everybody getting upset. The way the money was squandered, the money was spent. I mean, I didn't go through them. Maybe I put it in the next lecture. And then a huge amount, you know, sometimes the numbers I cannot believe is really their dinar they're talking about, 100,000 dinar, 500. I mean, he's just generously giving. I mean, what's the idea was that you have to consider that he thought the people have the basics now because of conquest are they're wealthy. But then he says, okay, what is the money from Beit Mal is my discretion, and I can spend it as much as I want. But you know, the satisfaction of people at every age is 2 levels. They look to the same people of their rank. You know, for example, a person which is a working class doesn't want to be paid as a doctor, you know, a neurosurgeon, but at least wants to be paid the same people working at the same level of him. And also, we cannot compare the satisfaction with, so, I mean, because this kind of argument is used sometimes. Oh, your situation is good, then that would be fair. Now you're making $10 per hour. But if you go, for example, Henry Ford people at the beginning of the 20th century was $5 per day. So this is not the comparison. So, you know, you cannot say. Some of the governors of Osman even have reduced the pay. For example, one group was very upset. I forgot which city was. They used to receive that 200 los dirham annually for their wives. But those governors have reduced it to 100. But then the other side, you see the money which was spent was obnoxious. For example, they got the homes from the wars in Africa, North Africa, you know, Libya and Tunisia, Algeria. The way Osman distributed was obnoxious. All of these guys, Marwan, Talha, all get 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 dirham. I mean, only these guys. So it's really, he thought whatever he wants, he can do with it. He treated Beit al-Mal and Khums as his own personal property, which wasn't definitely the way Omar was doing it, and you know, all other corruptions too. And then there were also the market manipulation. These are maybe add some of the details if we want have time next time. You know, they give monopolies to these people, you know, and then they got the control of the market of Medina, market of this city, and then the tricks they do. I mean, most of the corruption was financial. So to be true, the corruption in time of Osman mostly is financial, but financial is important, you know. And then sometimes he also give the excuse, okay, oh, Omar Abu Bakr, I did this way, so why I'm doing it, you're complaining. Yeah, PMC heard like that too. Oh, the first 10 years people did it, so what about the next 30 years? So actually, some of these examples, he was doing that, and then he wasn't right to the proper, and even if Omar Abu Bakr did it, wasn't right. So yeah, generally, it wasn't very good. But then you see things were changed. the image is reconstructed. People don't think about much history and the details. But I think if somebody reads and reflect, they know, even nowadays you see people, Osman is a little bit different distance from the first two. You know, Omar is really a little bit high ranking. Maybe those who think in the order is that Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman, but Osman is a little bit.
So let's see if there is any other question. I don't see any more. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Ghoddoussi. Inshallah, we're gonna continue fifth session in 2 weeks, and then so thank you so much everybody for joining the program. Inshallah, I will see you all in 2 weeks. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Yeah. Thank you.